Setting colorful intentions is really important when you want to attract a specific energy or feeling into your life. So, let's say you want to attract more love. You want to work with the energy of green and pink intentionally in your clothing, the things you put in your home or your office to attract more of that loving energy in.
Welcome to Women Leaders on the Move, a Her C-Suite radio podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Benamou, and every week I bring you inspirational stories and ideas to help you with the arc of your career and your life. I'm also the founder of Her C-Suite, where we help women meet, engage, and thrive in our programs, including our mastermind programs, as well as our board retreats, and also our Women Leaders on the Move special circle just for our listeners and our guests. You can meet with our guests and hear their podcast and look at your app and send them a message right in the moment. That's the way that we are connecting our audience with our speakers. Speaking of our speakers, today's guest is Heather Eck. She is a multimedia abstract artist and painter who interprets people and experiences through synesthesia. Guided by the chakra system, she uses color to heal emotional wounds, transforming energy into captivating paintings. Her work is a visual symphony, offering inspiration and healing through vibrant colors. We talk about all things colors and how to set an intention with your colors. I am thrilled to be bringing you her session today because it's going to inspire you to spark your color palette and set a color for the year. So let's get started with this conversation now. Heather, I'm so excited to welcome you to Women Leaders on the Move today. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
And when people are listening to this, it may very well be, is when it launches, the first day of the year. So happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
I am really thrilled to have this conversation with you, but there's going to be some listeners who don't know about you. So I always like to start with this question. Tell us a little bit about the arc of your career and what's bringing us to this moment today.
I love that. The arc of my career. I am constantly thinking about this because I wouldn't be where I am today as a visual artist without having gone through many, many years of working in corporate HR. So I went to college. I was the first person in my family to go to college, and I went into human resources because my dad said I would probably be good at it. And I was. And so I spent almost 20 years in corporate HR working for very creative industries. I worked for an advertising industry. I worked for a video game company. I just was always in these creative spaces. I was actually a very creative, artistic child. So being in those creative spaces was kind of like a cheat for me. I was able to work with people and talk to them and help them in a creative way, which is exactly what I do now as an artist. But it took me a very long time to kind of get to where I am today. But I was a certification chaser. I had every HR certification under the sun, including my coaching ICF certification, the whole nine yards. And now I'm an artist.
Amazing. And what our listeners, because they're going to probably be listening to this, I'm sure they will be, I get to see your studio behind you. And so I'm mesmerized by the beautiful colors that I'm seeing behind you. I'm an art history major, so I have a great appreciation for art. I'm not very talented in the actual creation, but I can visualize. I'm visual. I'm a visual person. So that's probably why we have such synergy together.
I love that.
And I think as we think about our lives. And I love this idea of transformation and making a change. How did you know? Was there a point for you when you were in that corporate role and you were doing something you liked, but what was the moment that you figured out, well, you know what? I'm going to go over here because this is really what my heart's telling me.
At the peak of my career, earning more than I'd ever earned, I was doing great work. I had gotten my coaching certification, but I felt the kind of tired that no amount of time off was going to fix. And I had gotten promoted And I got my first art show on the very same day. And I went to bed that night feeling so excited about the art show and feeling so depleted about the promotion. I had decided I feel really good when I'm able to be in the studio. That's a time for me where I feel like I can breathe. And I felt like I was letting out a lot of steam a little bit at a time, just releasing, releasing, releasing. And I sort of said to the universe, like, God, why would you give me these two opportunities? I feel really annoyed by this. felt I felt irritated, but I also knew that I was sort of sending out mixed signals to the universe. I was kind of like, I really want to stay in the place that has the 401k, but I also really want to pursue what I loved as a kid, that curiosity, that creativity, that color. It was all there for me as a kid. And so I kind of said, okay, I'm going to start to set out about the path of becoming a full-time artist, but I will sort of, make sure I've got some foundation first and make sure I've got a landing pad first. And then the universe had other plans. I went in to talk to my boss about giving my notice and to say, I'm going to work out until, and he said, nope, you're done today. And that was it. And all of a sudden I was out as a full-time artist and I found myself connecting a new printer going, oh no, what did I just do? Like I'm IT, I'm marketing, I'm I'm all the things now. What just happened? It was very like left my head spinning.
I can only imagine because you had just gotten this promotion. So you thought that they would be all about doing a smooth transition. That's really unfortunate. And I think sad. I'm sad to hear that that was your experience. I had a little bit of an opposite experience where I had been in my career for, we'll say, a few decades, almost three. And when I told my boss, she didn't want to let me go. She was like, you know what? You got to give me 30 days. And I was like, 30 days? I'm in sales. Don't I get to leave now? She was like, no. And so, because I had been trying to get my team ready, with things being set, so it did not go 30 days for me. It was more like 2 weeks. But at the end, I was sort of like, "You guys are good.
Yeah,
We're good. We're in a good place."
yeah,
But that's a hard feeling when it's like, "Okay, see ya." But then the doors closed, windows open. You flew through, and maybe that was what you needed, was that closed door to really see the sun coming down on you.
100%. I look back at that time and I know with certainty. Had I eked out the words, but I'm willing to work until, I never would have left. I never would have. I just would have stayed because everything about where I worked was great. The people were wonderful. The salary was wonderful. The opportunities were wonderful. The benefits were great. I never would have left. I think it had to be a cliff dive in order for me to leave. Otherwise, I just wouldn't have ever, I think.
Yeah, for me, the cliff dive, which happened to a lot of people, was COVID. So,
Oh,
trade shows ended, so that was all the doors closing, boom, 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 boom. And then I helped my team transition to digital, which then opened my eyes to like, wow, what would that look like if I did this digital platform? So that's the creativity piece. But I can understand, like, sometimes we need that moment, that nudge it's bigger than a nudge to be like, you know what, you got this. You're going to be
uh-huh.
fine. So talk to me a little bit about the work you're doing now and what's lighting you up. I know that you're doing some really amazing things.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm painting now. I paint something called spirit portraits. I have a condition called synesthesia that a lot of artists and musicians have. If you sort of Google it, you can find out, but it's something where your senses get crossed in your brain. And so when I listen to music or smell something, taste something, my brain converts it to color or shape or form. And so that's one sort of aspect of the way that I work with art is that I paint what I see, whether it's music, sound, or energy. And so the energy piece comes in when I look at somebody, I read their color and then deliver messages to them about important things that they may be missing in their life, like feeling blocked in a certain area or being sort of unable to move through something. I can sort of look at them and go, oh, you're blocked in your throat. And so let's talk about that. What does that mean for you? And what can you do about it? So I make these really wonderful pieces called spirit portraits for people.
We'll talk about it at the end, how people can find out more. But one of the ways that we came together was through two people, Anastasia, and then I think we also came together through Jen Pastikis, who is a good friend of mine, and we do things together. And she got one, so I can't wait for mine. I'm so excited.
Me too.
When you think about your life in color, I love that idea of like, how can we think more full in color instead of we sometimes dim our lights, and especially women, we sometimes allow our own internal messaging or what others might be saying that we're perceiving. What's one way that color can kind of open that up?
Color is sort of a language that we can all speak. We're just not aware that it's around us all the time. And for me, I think color is one of those things that we sort of unconsciously invite into our lives, not aware that it's telling us something about where we are or what it is that we're wanting to attract or even things that we want to let go of. So when I read color around people or in spaces, I'm sort of looking at what's the prominent color if I walk into an office? What's the prominent color in here? What is that saying about something? And you can understand a bit about people, situations, businesses through learning to read the color. So, for example, if you go into an office and it's all gray, it's very neutral space. It's maybe lacking some color, so it might lack some energy. It might make you feel drained when you're in there. You want to invite vibrant color into your life so that it can elevate your energy and elevate your essence, and you can sort of live a more vibrant life.
If you could see the colors of my house, I have a red dining room, a gold kitchen, a purple family room, like very colorful with art, a lot of art on it. I mean, a lot of art. And so pop of color is my thing and my husband's thing. So I love color. I can see what you mean because it really does makes you feel alive a little
Yeah,
bit, right? Like
yeah,
just
it does.
energy. And it's true that when you have those neutral tones, it sort of brings down a little bit. And sometimes that's appropriate depending on what the context is, but not
Yeah.
always. So what are some things that you when you work with people that you tell them like how can you shift and start using that in your day-to-day life?
When I sit down with somebody and read their color, I'm sort of seeing where they might be dwelling in their body and their mind, body, or spirit, essentially through their chakras. So, for example, there was somebody that I read recently who was blocked in her throat chakra. So the color blue came through really strongly for her. And as I'm creating, I'm also receiving messages and things that I can deliver to you and say, here's what I got. Does this make sense for you? And for her, I kept hearing stitch the story together. And her painting actually had like little marks in it that looked like stitches. And when I was telling her about this, she said, this is so weird because I have all these little snippets of stories that I've been writing, and I've been trying to find a way to put them together in a book, and I haven't felt like I've been able to. So we talked about how there was something holding her back with being really, really honest about what she had experienced to be able to put it in words and actually allow that book to come out of her. And so the portrait for her was sort of a visual representation of what she was holding on to and being able to give herself permission to sort of surrender, to be authentic, to be vulnerable, to let that out so that her story and her book could be of service to other people, maybe who'd gone through something that she had gone through in a similar way. So that piece now lives in her office where she writes, so she can let that painting and that color minister to her as a reminder to use her voice and to be authentic and to speak with truth.
It makes me think of I just wrote a chapter in a book with Jen. It was Brave Women at Work, Lessons in Leadership. And I had so many revisions. Hope Mueller was the editor. And I remember the night before we were going to go to press, I said, I have to change my chapter. And she's like, what are you talking about? We've been working on it for months. I said, yeah, I'm going to send it over to you, but I have to change this thing. And I'm glad I did. And she let me because she's a wonderful friend. But I think about that idea of dimming your light. And when you are sharing something so deeply personal,
Mhm.
it's really scary because you're putting it out there. And, I don't see the podcast like that. I see like this is conversation, but when you're writing it in a book and it's going to be on someone's shelf or desk or whatever, and it's going to say these words, that has a different meaning. Sometimes I have those moments, right? Of like, oh, what am I about to do?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So after you do this with people, they've now kind of been in tune with their color. What's a way to stay on that path
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's cool when you know what it is that's blocking you. And then you kind of need the blueprint for what do I do now? And that's where I think being intentional with color really comes in handy when you can learn to work with the energy of a color through food, through color, through your clothing, through even moving your body like yoga or dancing or something that it kind of works back with the color, enables you to use it to your advantage. So, for example, the blue, if you're somebody who's feeling blocked in your throat, you might want to sing or hum or chant to open up that throat and let the vibrations of that kind of move through you. Creatively, you may want to be writing or drawing or painting to let your expression come through. You may want to eat blue foods like chomp on some blueberries, or you may want to wear blue. Or maybe you sit and you meditate, and if you can visualize the color kind of billowing out around you, you can immerse yourself in what that color offers you too. So there's lots of different ways that you can be intentional with the color to kind of allow it to work with you and to minister to whatever need you have in it.
Are there things that you can do in a small time frame? Maybe there's a stressful point in your day or you're facing something and you want to tap into that. We talked about meditating, which I love meditating, and now I'm going to
Mhm.
think about it when I'm thinking about it with color. I love that idea. But are there things, little things, like it's something that doesn't take as much time? Because that's one of the things people might hear this and say, I just don't have the time. Well, you do,
Yeah.
because you could do it in a small increment. How do you help people throughout the day maybe think about it differently with different situations?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Yesterday, I went to a business class that I'm in, and the speaker came in. We had all gotten stuck in traffic. It was crazy. And she said, I'm going to make you guys do this. Stay with me for 1 second. She said, we're going to sit here for 5 minutes. No phone, no writing, no nothing. She just put a timer on for 5 minutes, and we all just sat there. And I meditated because I was like, this is amazing. Thank you for this time. But just even like 5 minutes felt so good in reviving my spirit, just that little bit of time. So, like you said, a little bit of time, I think, is all you really need. But if you're somebody who likes crystals or rocks, or maybe you have a piece of art on your desk or something, anything that you can hold in your hand or look at and just ground yourself in that color will give you a boost because you're consciously looking at it and going, I just want to hold this for a second and take a deep breath and let this moment quiet my thoughts. And it doesn't have, you don't have to sit there for an hour, but even just holding it for like a minute, take 3 or 4 deep breaths is going to help calm you down.
I really had never thought about that with the color, like holding the color. I think that is so powerful. It's
Hmm.
amazing. Because this is coming out at the beginning of the year, what are some ways to use color for maybe intentions? I don't really like the New Year's resolution because that sets us up for these goals that we're like, I'm going to climb Mount Everest. And you're like, well, maybe I got to just walk, to the mailbox or something first. So, is there a way, as you're thinking about intentions, about what your hopes are, to use color for that?
Yes, absolutely. I think if you know what your intention is, you can connect it back to a color. So, for example, if you're somebody who wants to really focus on creativity and creative expression in 2025, you might want to work with the energy of orange and let orange sort of minister to you. It's going to help support your creativity. It's going to help support your emotions. It's going to be elevating and uplifting to you. And it's also going to move you into an active state. So that's kind of the fun way you can play with what's my color of the year, kind of like how Pantone does it. But if you also, you've kind of sit down for a second and go, what are my intentions for 2025? If I think about what do I want to let go of? What do I want to bring in? Just doodle with pen and paper and just say, I want to attract love. I want to attract creativity. I want to attract whatever. Close your eyes and go, okay, what color does that feel like to me? What shape does that look like to me? And then just doodle that. And then throughout the year, as you encounter that color or that shape, then you can be reminded of your intention. So you can use your own sort of library of color and symbol if you want to.
Well, I love orange. It's one of my favorite colors. And you're seeing me, and I'm wearing all pink because that's my brand. People always say, you're always wearing pink. I'm like, yes, because that's my brand. I always wear pink. But for other colors, so orange is great for energy. Are there other ones that kind of I think Pantone's color was yellow this year, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. For people that are listening, are there other hues or things that they can think of that they're like, oh, I didn't know that might do that
Yeah.
for me?
Yeah, I'll walk you up the rainbow real quick. If you start at the base of your spine, that's the root chakra. That is the color red. And that's going to help you feel supported, secure. It's going to help you feel like you're able to financially support yourself. And it's going to help you feel like you're connected to your family and your tribe of people, your community. If you move up to orange, we kind of talked about orange is your sacral chakra. That's all about creativity, your emotions, your connections to others, and sexuality. So that's a really good one. You go further up to about your belly button, and that's your solar plexus, and that's the color yellow. That is all about your willpower, your self-esteem, your confidence, your self-worth, and how you see yourself and how you want other people to see you. So it's like your identity. Green, which is my go-to color. We are in the heart colors. So pink and
Yes.
green are all love, love, love. Those are about self-love, unconditional love, compassion, forgiveness, and being able to look at each other with the same sort of compassion that you hold for yourself. You see that in other people too. We talked a little bit about the throat, which is all about self-expression. That is communication, authenticity, truthfulness, and being able to express the truth of who you are. Then you have your third eye, which is located between your eyes. That's the color indigo or navy. And that one is all about your intuition, your inner knowing, your ability to sort of visualize and see, to manifest. And then up at the top of your head, that's your crown chakra. That is white and purple or violet. And those are all about being connected to your higher self, seeing yourself as part of the cosmos, seeing yourself as connected to a higher power. And so that one's a really great one for remembering your divinity and how we're all connected. We're all one.
Amazing. I'm going to definitely have that in the show notes so that people will be able to follow when they hear us talk about it. Are you thinking about a color for 2025? Have you picked one?
So it's so funny that you asked that because I was just thinking I need to start doing like a color forecast where like what does the energy of this week feel like? What does the energy of next year feel like? Feels like it's going to be blue. I think it's going to be a lot of throat energy, which is going to be like a light blue color for 2025. For me, I guess it's going to be about being truthful and honest, expressing myself, and being able to, like you said, not dim my light, be the fullest expression of who I am in my work and in my business, in my whole self.
Amazing. If people want to find out more about you and all the beautiful things that you're doing and the way that you're lighting the world up with your color, where can they go to find you?
Thank you. People can find me. I'm all over Instagram at Heather Eck Artist, and I've got some free gifts on my website at heathereck.com/thank you. You can get a color and chakra guide there so you can learn all about all the things we talked about.
Heather, thank you so much for being on the show today and for us wishing everyone a colorful year that is meaningful to them. It's been so fun to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. Happy New Year.
Thank you for spending your time with us today. I learned so much about colors, and I'm sure you did too. And that's why I'm so excited that inside her C suite, Women Leaders on the Move is a circle within our network that offers the opportunity for you to access our guests like Heather Eck in the moment. We have an app, and you can send a message right there and then and ask a question. Check it out at hercsuite.com. If you found this podcast helpful, I would be so grateful if you would rate and review the show on your favorite podcast app. It's how people find us. And share this episode with a friend who you want to share your colors with and see what she tells you about the color of her year. Keep shining your light bright. The world needs you.